Hey, it's Emil. Emil Guillermo. Yeah, that guy. Emil Amok to you. Hi, friends. Hi, people. If you just found us, say, who is that guy? He looks like, is he doing play-by-play of something? He's in his closet? Yes, I'm in my closet. I'm not doing play-by-play. This is the thing we call Emil Amok's Takeout. My takes on all things considerable. Insiders know that joke. They know there's a joke there. We did a show on, instead of doing a show last Friday, we did it on Saturday, but it was too long and I couldn't send it out over the weekend. And it's just at YouTube at Emil Amok 1. Check out show 743 where Dan Gonzalez and I, Professor Dan, talk about Kamala Harris and talk about that speech. I mean, people are still talking about it. I mean, I think in journalism, right, the instinct is to just, really grab onto it and talk about it. So she delivered it Thursday. We talked about it Friday and then Saturday, and some people are still buzzing about it. More thoughtful journalists, perhaps, thinking about it, talking about it, publishing it over the weekend. I've got a piece coming out again because, you have to talk about what she said and why it was so significant. And really, there was so much that was significant that couldn't be talked about, that wasn't talked about. There just wasn't the time. And so now people are just getting around to, hey, Leon Panetta, that no one knows except if you worked in, for a California congressman during Leon Panetta. You thought it was his heyday, but no, there was more to Leon Panetta. He would go on to work in, the administration and, presidential cabinets, Secretary of Defense. Leon Panetta is the master bureaucrat, right? You plug him in anywhere. And he knows when you say, is Kamala Harris, is she capable of dealing with the tyrants of the world? Don't take her word for it. Take the word of someone like Leon Panetta. And his speech was something at the DNC. But of course, he's the guy who's got credibility, who's dealt with the bad guys at the world stage. But I think sometimes, I think his speech definitely got overlooked, but he attacked Trump for calling veterans suckers and losers, the guys who get hurt. And he was there as an unequivocal supporter of Kamala Harris and what she would do on the world stage. So there's that speech. In my columns on the ALDEF blog, Asian American Legal Defense and Education Fund, I did talk about Michelle Obama's speech and Barack Obama's speech and, of course, Tim Walz. But really, everything was in service to the main event, which was Kamala Harris, her speech. And so that's what I talked about on Thursday in my column. But in case it wasn't clear, I want to talk about it more. I talk about it with Dan Gonzalez on episode 743, but some further thoughts on this episode. We'll talk to you. Also, I'll talk about what I'm doing this week, which will mean that sometimes I'll be out and about, and you'll have to check me out. I'm going to be at a special event in Sacramento, so I'll talk about that. But I do want to talk about this thing I'm doing on September 3rd, and I'm doing a storytelling show because, one of the things I do besides being a journalist, commentator, analyst, I tell stories. And, sometimes they're comics, sometimes comic monologues, you can call them. Sometimes when I do it in a stand-up venue, their stand-up show, it's a different kind of form when you do it in a stand-up way versus a more theatrical comic monologue. But I'm teaming up with a friend who I met in a storytelling studio with Mike Daisy, my friend Erilyn Hughes, aka the Queen of Weird in Austin, Texas. And we met, got along, and for the first time, we're going to meet in person in Austin to do this storytelling show, telling stories. Going to be moderated by a noted storyteller in the Austin community who's directed Erilyn's shows. And, it should be fun. And I think check out Eventbrite, EVENTBRITE, eventbrite.com. The premise is we've never met in person. And now we're going to on September 3rd, 7 p.m. Oh, is it that monumental, Emil? Well, a lot of people meet these days, or they're wondering how to make a connection with people. I mean, Kamala Harris is a good example. How did she make a connection? She made a connection through story. The story of her mom and her dad, but mostly her mom. So we're going to tell stories. And I think you're going to find there's a kind of intimacy in storytelling that is the reason why people from all these little disparate type of segments of society are trying to glom on to storytelling as their thing for both good and for bad, right? For commerce, for politics. Story's a profound connector. And when you see storytelling that is kind of the theater, but not really of the theater, just people telling stories of their lives, being vulnerable, being real, authentic, mostly vulnerable, because we're revealing something about ourselves. I think it's going to be an interesting show. I mean, I've met Erilyn on a Zoom box right here. This, if you can see me now, it's not really a Zoom box, but these digital boxes on the screen. But what is it like to meet someone who you regard as a friend who you've never met in person? Erilyn calls the show Perfect Strangers. We may be perfect strangers because we aren't in proximity to each other. And yet through story we are. So check it out, 7 o'clock, September 3rd, the day after Labor Day. Austin, Texas. So if you're in Austin, hey, tickets at Eventbrite, EVENTBRITE. Get them there, $25 donation. No one shall be refused. Keep in mind, free parking. That gets people excited in California. You say free parking. They say, oh God, free parking. Where do I go? Where do I sign up? That's September 3rd, Austin, Tejas. Erilyn Hughes, storyteller, Queen of Weird, Austin, Texas, meets Emil Amok, Lost NPR host. Don't miss it. So we swish out. Hey, so I want to say one other thing. This weekend, I've been asked to MC California Black Media, Ethnic Media Services big Ethnic Media Conference awards. They're having an awards show on Wednesday. So I'm going to go Tuesday, check out the conference, because a lot of interesting things there. A Stop the Hate panel. There's a fireside chat with Attorney General Rob Bonta. There's a session that I'm curious about, the growing threat of racialized disinformation, deep fakes how to combat disinformation targeting ethnic audiences. I wonder what that might be. How to spot a deep fake. Is that like how to spot like Tulsi Gabbard? Would she be a deep fake? Oh, she's real. Tulsi Gabbard is real. She just supported Donald Trump today. So yeah, she's real. Is it deep fake? Tim Scott? Tim Scott, is he? No, he's real too. Shermichael Singleton, is he? No, he's actually, Shermichael isn't so bad. He's just a commentator on CNN. He's not a politician. Anyway, that seems the growing threat of racialized disinformation. So this is the kind of thing that you get at an ethnic media conference, an expo, and then I'm going to MC the awards, which take place on Wednesday. So I'm going to maybe put some things out sporadically during this regular time that you see me, or maybe this is a good time to check out the Saturday show that Dan and I did talking about Kamala Harris's speech, and then maybe even this show 744. So check that out. If you're interested in that expo, it's at the Sheraton Grand Sacramento, the Sheraton Grand Sacramento Hotel. And it's the Ethnic Media Conference Expo and Awards. And it should be fun. It should be fun because I remember doing an awards and expo back when I was part of New California Media more than 24 years ago. More than 24. And now look, more than 24 years ago, now look, 2024, we have a Black Asian American female president or presidential nominee for a major party. And 24 years ago, we were talking about a change that would be coming in the future, maybe 30 to 50 years in the future. And now here we are 24 years later, and we've got this diversity milestone in our midst. And what else do we have? I mean, are we ready to go into the future? It's why when I talk about Kamala Harris's speech, it really is a milestone for us. You know, it was 1989 when they said, 1989, they said 30 to 50 years. That's the first time we saw the minorities will be the majority in the United States, according to the census. 1989. Here we are, 2024. We have this special candidate, and we're close to the nation being a minority-majority situation. Certainly, we have people writing about the browning of America. African American, Latino, Asian Americans, fastest growing. What's it mean? And that's why I think when I see Kamala Harris, I see the only issue that's important is America ready for someone like Kamala Harris? Someone who is Black, Asian American, a woman, to be president of the United States. Now, you would think, being the first woman, that would be, you got to deal with the misogyny of the nation. How about Black, Asian American, and a woman? Can America deal with its racist and misogynist tendencies to get over that hump and support this, like I said, the first time ever, this historic nominee? I hope the answer is yes, but I don't know. I mean, right now, you see the issues unfold over the weekend, right? After that great speech. Of course, what did people say? Where's the details? Where's the details for the economic speech or the economic points? You'll get them in due time. I mean, Kamala Harris has 70 plus days, and now 71 today as I speak, before the election. Early votes start even before then. I mean, really. I think Kamala Harris is in this dead sprint, and the issues will be decided or determined really ultimately on whatever the congressional landscape is that she ends up with. I just don't see how she can plausibly say anything except something very vague. And that really is all you need. Because frankly, you're not going to vote for her because she's got all the fine points of an economic plan all laid out, knowing full well that she's probably not going to be able to get that passed in the legislature. She doesn't get, as I said, the legislative landscape that would get it passed. So the way to look at this is to see, okay, you got to look at broad strokes. And the broadest stroke is who's talking for the middle class? Who's talking for the 99%? Who talked about a firefighter, teacher, neighborhood? Who talked about being born of the middle class? Kamala Harris. She's 99%, not the 1%, the 99. And then, so who is the 1%? Who is of corporate interests? The guy with the silver spoons in every orifice, Donald Trump. I don't think that is overly simplistic, but I think that will help you see the broad stroke of where these candidates are. And the details, the fine brush points, I think you have to wait till later. And I think if you make the fine brush points your reason to not vote for Kamala Harris, what you're really saying is, give me cover for my racism and misogyny. Give me cover for not being able to get over the traditional racism and misogyny of America. I think that's a shame. Because really, you go down the list of all the issues. Oh, she flip-flop on Medicare for all. Yeah. Well, Donald Trump wants to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. Kamala Harris wants to improve ACA, aka Obamacare. Donald Trump wants to get rid of it. That's as broad a stroke as you need. You don't need details about X, Y. Oh, she's not going to do Medicare for all. No, this is a desperate time where they're trying to save what we have that we know works. You know, I wouldn't diss her for dumping Medicare for all, not at this stage. So you see, the whole issues thing is for nerds. Let the nerds talk about it. Let regular people talk about the real issues. Like, who can you trust? Who can you trust taking care of our fragile democracy? Van Jones the other day was talking about, babysitters, like choosing a babysitter. No, we're hiring someone. We're hiring someone who's going to be essentially the nanny for our government. So that while we're away, while we're doing our thing, the person who holds the office, the highest office in the land, our representative government, what is she going to do? Who do you trust? I don't think you have to go very deep. Look at the acceptance speech of Kamala Harris. Look at the acceptance speech of Donald Trump. On a day-to-day basis, look at the best of both or the worst of both and see who do you like? Who do you want to hang out with? The person who talks about caring, taking care of your neighbor, or the person who lies, pathological liar, who can't be trusted? J.D. Vance is certainly defending Donald Trump. But remember, J.D. Vance said that Donald Trump was America's Hitler a few years back. Now, J.D. Vance wants to be his number two. So I guess that makes J.D. Vance kind of like America's sub-Hitler. I just think I think Donald Trump, the Trump Vance team, they've been whacked real hard by the departure of Joe Biden. And they were ready to run up against an old white guy. They don't know how to run against this vibrant, diverse candidate. Black, Asian, female, energetic, smart. How do we deal with this person? They don't know how. And so that's why I think we're going to see a race that comes down to some racist and misogynist sort of themes that Donald Trump's going to throw out there, because that's all he's got. That's his best shot. It divides an electorate and it forces an electorate to go ugly. Unless we're mature enough, unless we have a majority. The minorities, well, if there's no, when the minorities are the majority, are there enough of us who see ourselves in Kamala to overcome all that latent racism and sexism and misogyny? That's why it's going to be an exciting 71 days. Exciting. And it's close. Harris seems to be pulling away. Now, I wonder, you notice how a lot of announcers, broadcasters, on second reference, they'll say, Mr. Trump. I wonder if they'll start saying Ms. Harris on second reference, or if they'll just call her Harris. Like I traditionally just call Trump Trump. I don't call him Mr. Trump on second reference. I'm not going to call Kamala Harris Ms. Harris, and it's not a sign of, it's not a lack of disrespect. It's just, or a lack of respect. It's just, in newspapers, usually you say that you dump the article, or, Mr. or Ms. because of space. But I started noticing the broadcasters do it, which is a little weird. Anyway, I think race is going to be even more of an issue as we get into September, as we get into October. Don't forget, we have the debates coming up too, September 10th. That's going to be a hoot. And now there's this disagreement about Harris wants the mics open, Trump wants them closed, and it was reversed before. I think Trump forgot his stand. He wanted them open because he could ridicule Biden. But now he is so confused, he'd rather have him shut off so he can mumble and grumble, and so no one can hear him say, yeah, really, I can't believe it. That's stupid, blah, blah, blah. And Harris picked up on that, and her staff said, well, I think Trump wants the mics closed because he's not sure if he can act presidential. 100% of the time. I think that's the case. I definitely think that's the case. So, anyway, we are moving toward, I mean, this is the sprint, the mad sprint. And of course, the Harris Walls team is raising money, hand over fist, as it were. That convention week raised something like 82 million. Since the campaign started just a little over a month ago, 540 million. I mean, they are pulling it in, but they're going to need every last dollar, it seems, because there are a lot of Republicans who cannot. They're so in deep with Trump. They're going to dump as much money as they can to keep him in the race. But I don't know. I think it's kind of a calculated gamble if he goes even more racist than he's been. I mean, that was a trial balloon a few weeks ago when he said, I don't know if she's black or she's Indian. People let him know how wrong he was. But, you know, when the going gets tough, the tough go racist. That's always been the case in America. And I think if Trump doesn't seem to get his way, if he starts falling in the polls, I think he's going to have to go negative if he wants to stay competitive. It's too bad. He should do what's good for the country and say, my time has passed. This isn't my time, but I don't think he's that magnanimous. I just don't think so. All right, so there. I think that those are the two things I wanted to get across. Check out where I talk about Kamala Harris with Dan Gonzalez, Professor Dan, on our show 743. This is show 744. Just wanted to mention a few things that I couldn't get into my columns about the DNC. Oh, here's one. Here, a couple of things. I thought the Central Park 5, bringing out the Central Park 5 folks, I thought that was really telling. Because, you know, you don't really need to get in the weeds about the economy and all this other thing. Just look to see what kind of person it is that you're voting for. I mean, there's Kamala Harris, the former Attorney General, former DA, who goes after the bad guys most of the time. I mean, I'm not saying she's perfect most of the time. And then there's Donald Trump, who buys a full-page ad seeking the death penalty for these black kids who are arrested for a crime in New York, and then they serve the time, and they find out later that they did not commit the crime. Central Park 5. People forget that. That shows you the kind of person Donald Trump is. Not that old news might persuade some people. Maybe it will. People say, oh, I didn't know that about him. Get to know the Central Park 5. And then the other thing, one last thing, because, you know, I talk about Asian Americans on this show. This is WDAAT. What does an Asian American think? So, Asian Americans, what do you think about that high point in the at the DNC where they did the roll call? They did the roll call in such a hip, cool way. They had a DJ. It was exciting. And then the real representation for Asian Americans were in the delegations from American Samoa or Guam or the Virgin Islands or, well, all the territories. Not necessarily the Virgin Islands, but Northern Marianas Islands. Here's the thing. Those are all colonies. They have no vote. What you saw when you saw the Pacific Islanders who were represented was the charade of democracy shrouding modern colonialism. And when you think of it, it's pretty disgusting. They have no vote, no say. They are technically American citizens, just like my dad. Technically American citizens. They don't vote, but they go through this show that, hey, there are territories. And it's a shame. People can come from the territories and they have a little faster access to citizenship where they could vote. But a lot of people don't. And I just think, wow, if more people knew the situation of the territories, and I think some people do, but it's just sad because that is a sham. How do you get out of that? Do you give them statehood, give them their independence? I mean, that's one of the good things about the Philippines. The Philippines got its independence. Puerto Rico, and look what happens. You know, Puerto Rico suffering from lack of, the kind of infrastructure after all the hurricanes that go through it each season. Sometimes it's worse than, one season from the next. Hawaii. Fortunately, they did not get hit as hard with this Hurricane Hone. Actually, it's been diminished to a tropical storm, but I mean, that was a territory. It wasn't until the 60s, early 60s, it became a state. Good deal for Hawaii, maybe, but wouldn't independence have been better? Don't know. I know that the Philippines, sometimes I wonder if the Philippines would have been better if it were, well, it wouldn't have been a state. It's probably better as an independent because it would just be one big Guam if they weren't independent, a territory. And I just couldn't see that. But that's the thing. The Philippines remains a kind of dream for all these other territories. One day, we could be the Philippines. Oh my God. That's what you got to look for. Now, how about saying, one day we could be Rhode Island? That would show that you have a higher sense of self-worth, I think, at least that. All right, we're going to end our show today. Once again, hey, so I probably will just do a truncated show tomorrow when I'm at the Bridging Divides, Connecting Communities, California Black Media, Ethnic Media Services, big thing in Sacramento. Check it out. If, it's at the Sheraton Grand, Sacramento. Some interesting things there. I think it could be possibly open to the public. You might want to check with the hotel. But a big show of programs and a couple hundred people there, including the Attorney General. That's on Tuesday. And then on Wednesday, a big award show that I'll be emceeing. So I'm looking forward to that. That's always fun. And as I said, man, we did a version of this 24 years ago. And what a treat. Or it's not a treat. It's just about time that 24 years later, we talk about how society is changing. And here we have this major sign that society is changing. There is an African American, Asian American woman who's the standard bearer for the Democratic Party. And, the thing is, this diversity is happening. It's a new generation. I was just reading Wall Street Journal reporting. The CEO of Panda Express, Chinese American, Asian American, African American, from Africa, I believe. Harvard Business School, 34 years old. He is leaving Panda Express to go run Red Lobster. So, once you get a thing mastered, semi-fast food, from P.F. Chang's to Red Lobster, he's the master of millions. Anyway, a young guy from went to Brown, went to Harvard Business School, African American. Diversity, right? Corporate world, have no problem. You make us money, we have no problem. Sending you to the top. President, we haven't yet seen the nativist force that Donald Trump and his MAGA forces are capable of. And it'll make all the quibbling over flip-flopping and details on economic plans seem like child's play, because it's gonna get nasty. All right, and then one more thing. Let me just talk about my storytelling show. Hey, don't forget, it's in Austin, September 3rd. Eventbrite, eventbrite.com. Get your tickets there, and I'll see you in Austin on September 3rd. Free parking. It's at the Unity Church of Austin. It's a nice little venue. They have storytelling shows there every week, and this is on a Tuesday night. It should be a fun night. Be there or be square. Okay, that's it. We like to end with a little meditation, because meditation really makes the world go round. It makes the person inside me feel more spiritual. I mean, it's the answer. It's the answer to all the little conflicts. I mean, 10 years ago, before meditation, Emil, Amok, BM, before meditation, I'd be crazy. I would go amok. But now, because I meditate, I am so much nicer. Oh, that should be a nod. So much nicer. All right. Hey, we close with a little loving kindness. Loving kindness. Cheryl Salzberg defined mindfulness as that thing that keeps me from punching you in the face. That's right. It's true. I'm not going to punch you in the face. And so, as I wish for me, I wish for you. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. And may you live with ease. Oh, that ease. You need ease. Ease. It's the lube of life is ease. Emil Amok here. Hey, catch us on YouTube at Emil Amok 1. Like I said, show 743. I talked with Dan about common speech even more. And This is show 744. YouTube at Emil Amok 1. Facebook, fb.com/Emil Guillermo. Twitter. Are you on Twitter? Hey, how you Twitter folks? Oh, excuse me. X. How you X folks? Emil Guillermo here. Till next time. Mahal.